Tashaka Armstrong joins us to break down all the news coming out of Google Pixel's event last week. We dig into the Pixel 7 and Pixel 7 Pro, the Pixel Watch, and get excited for 2023's Pixel Tablet. That plus slidable displays and more anger over Google Assistant driving mode and much more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 599, recorded Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, Google Pixel Event 2022 wrap-up. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV's training solutions provide professionals and enterprise organizations the education needed to kickstart or advance IT careers and upskill through engaging training and virtual labs. Get 30% off when you sign up at itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AAA30 at checkout. And by Collide. Collide is an endpoint security solution that gives IT teams a single dashboard for all devices, regardless of their operating system. Visit collide.com/AAA to learn more and activate a free 14-day trial today. No credit card required. Welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Huyn Twitdow.
And welcome back, Huyn, and it's great to see you. And we are post-Pixel event, so we're going to break it all down. And unfortunately, Jason is still out. We send our hearts and hugs to Jason. But sitting in the third chair, we couldn't be more excited to welcome back Tashaka Armstrong. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure to be hanging out with y'all again. Talking tech.
Talking tech and talking pixels. This is going to be a very Pixel Google heavy episode. In fact, we don't have any hardware. We're going to talk all about the Pixel stuff first, then go through the news and some app stuff. But there's just so much to talk about, and I'm sure all of you watching and listening watched or listened to me and Leo on Thursday during the event as we kind of did the live commentary of it, which was a ton of fun to do. And then Huyn, you were just on This Week in Tech this past week, right?
Yeah. We also talked about it. And I also, during the live stream that you and Leo did, I was so inspired by the watch and the phone. I always kind of get the phone anyway that I pre-ordered. And I actually slapped Ron in the middle of the live stream. I was like, I got the phone and the watch.
I was gonna save it till we're actually talking about it, but I also
my bad. Yeah.
I also pre-ordered the watch. We'll get to it in a second, but I literally just before the show got my email from Google where my watch was supposed to be delivered tomorrow, and it is now delayed until October 28th.
Oh,
so
what?
I don't know if that's a sign of how popular it is or whatnot, but my package is now arriving between October 24th and October 28th. So I got to wait a little longer to get my hands on the watch.
Did you get sorry, I know we should save it, but did you get the LTE version or the the Bluetooth Wi-Fi only version?
I pulled the trigger and did the LTE version.
I think that's why. It's I
so?
looked at it today and it's waitlisted. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll get to it. Well, that said, let's all get to it. We're not going to do any news this week. We're just going to dive right into all the Pixel stuff. So Burke, I don't even know if we have a bumper for it, but we'll just get right into it. We'll wait for the news a little bit later. So the Made by Google event this past Thursday. As we all know, Google's done a wonderful job of telling us what's going to be in the event before we see the event. But there was a nice little surprise at the end. But first off, we finally got to see unveiled the Google Pixel 7. And just real quickly to kind of hit the major points on the specs and things like that. They're both running the new Google Tensor G2, the second generation of the Tensor chip. The Google Pixel has got a bit smaller of a battery than the Google Pixel. The Google Pixel 7 has a bit smaller of a battery than the Pixel 6, but the Pixel 7 Pro still has that big fat battery similar to the 6 Pro. They upped some, they upped the display depth on both of these, and really just kind of gave us that refresh to the baseline that they set with the Google Pixel 6. With as we all know, the exterior looks a little more Star Trek-y now in terms of how it looks. You can go online and see all the rest of the specs and see all the various different things like that, and the cameras and all that fun stuff. But so Tashaka, you watched the event at home, right?
Right. Yes, I did.
All right. And what were your impressions?
I was going to say, I think there are two ways to look at that event, because, you have people that are going to watch it, I think, just for they're going to watch each piece and kind of watch it piece by piece, like, oh, I really want a phone. Then, oh, I really want to watch. But it really was about ecosystem, you know? And so when we got to see the phones and the watch and then the tablet, and then I was on a Slack channel with a bunch of geeky friends, and everybody was kind of like somewhat lukewarm until they brought out the dock for the tablet. And then they were like, whoa, okay, this is how we get Android tablets in the home. And so there's the macro view and then the micro, which is, you know, then you dig into each piece by itself, each piece separately. But I think ultimately it was Google really kind of putting their foot down and trying to compete, you know, in this smartphone market, where I don't think it's just about smartphones anymore in terms of if you're going to try to compete with Apple and Samsung, because like the reason why I went all in and closed the loop in Apple stuff was because of the Apple Watch. It wasn't because I was an iPhone fan. It was because the Apple Watch when I reviewed it, did everything I needed it to do. And so now we have the Pixel Watch, and I am just giddy. I'm absolutely giddy to put that thing through its paces.
Yeah. Yeah, the watch was exciting, as clear as you tell. Both Win and I jumped and purchased it. But so Win, what were your kind of takeaways from the event itself first? Before then, we'll break down the phone and the watch and the tablet coming up next. But what did you think of the event overall? So
yeah, I think overall, you know, it was a very standard Google event. I don't mean that as necessarily a bad thing. You know, like it's just their style. There's not a ton of pizzazz. It's just kind of straightforward. Here are the cool things. And I totally agree with Tashaka that they're really trying to ecosystem it up. And I think that I like the idea that they're trying to Google ecosystem it rather than trying to, I mean, they're always going to be compared head to head with Samsung and Apple. That's just the way it is. But I really did like some of the integrations that they showed. And in particular, you know, they really do try to tout the things that they're good at, like computational photography. And I mean, certainly, you know, the iPhone already had like some of the things that they mentioned, like the motion blur, which I know you and Leo talked about, as well as the, you know, telephoto with the like 10x zoom and how that works. So that was great. But what I think was really cool was the so their connecting tissue for the ecosystem was things like there was that one part in the presentation, the Made by Google presentation, where they showed, you know, someone setting up their Pixel 7 on a tripod and then using the watch to actually as a viewfinder and then actually as a shutter button. And I thought that was really cool. And I think that is where they might actually be vaguely competitive, is in leveraging some of the stuff. And actually that probably uses the cross-device SDK, which we talked about a little bit, like about a month ago or something like that. So I would love to see that. And actually the Pixel tablet, it makes so much sense that it has a home dock, because I feel like the way I use tablets, like right now, my tablets are just like sitting kind of under my desk, right? Because they're these big things. I have my phone already. And so it's really special, like certain things that I use this for, but we use the Nest Hub all the time. And so to get people on board with a Pixel tablet to kind of make it a Nest Hub or, you know, Hub Max or whatever, kind of make it the next evolution of the Hub makes so much sense to me. I kind of love it.
You're jumping ahead. I love it though. But yeah, this.
Oh yeah, sorry. Anyway, my bad. Yeah,
there were. For me, there were several kind of, and you saw if you watched the coverage, there's several kind of like, oh wow moments that really got it. You know, and you know, I think you know the controlling the phone camera with the watch was definitely one of them. I think the obviously the tablet, we'll get in that in a second. But also for me, the accessibility control, the selfie camera accessibility control for blind and sight impaired people, which I thought was just amazing. And to your point, to both your points, that's, you know, another little bit of Google kind of magic that Google brings to the table with all their, you know, kind of software development. And what can they do with these devices to make them more accessible for everybody? But like the big thing, and going back to the phone, just kind of dialing into it, was I was shocked and impressed to see how much time and attention Google paid to the actual using the phone aspect of the phone. Like we expect now tons of kind of like pixel specific features and things you can do with it. And they've been flirting with having the assistant plug into your phone and do things like call ahead and make a reservation for you or screen your calls or things like that. But like this time around, not only did we see kind of evolution of the screening and the direct my call and stuff like that, but now they have the clear calling feature. Right. So what they're trying to say is to, like Google wants to make you using your phone be more delightful. And, and we can use software now to make the audio of the phone call sound clearer and better. Just like so many different features that were tied directly to the phone aspect of the phone, which I thought was interesting. So it was kind of really great to see that kind of attention paid to, okay, yeah, this is also a phone, not just a computer that can do a bunch of things that also makes calls. But I don't know, the phone is cool. I definitely, when you already ordered it, Tashaka, I believe you are getting some access to it, right? That you can't talk about. But
I went to, well, the one I can talk about is I went to the day of the event. That night they had a launch event for Team Pixel and at Perch in Los Angeles, which is this beautiful rooftop restaurant on the 16th floor of this building. And it's just beautiful views of downtown LA. And they had a device there for us to check out and a Pixel Watch for us to check out. And they're both beautiful looking devices. I've got pictures of from that night on my Twitter feed, Tashaka Armstrong, at Tashaka Armstrong, so you can check those out. And it's just, they're good looking devices. And for me, going back a second to what you said, Google does accessibility. I think they're one of the best, if not the best, because that's one of the things I try to dive into when I do my reviews is the accessibility functions on that phone. And for example, when I was reviewing, oh goodness, I think maybe the Pixel 5a, I was going over the live call captioning, and it just worked beautifully. So if you're someone that's hard of hearing, has any hearing impairment, it was pretty flawless. And so the features that they showed off where their machine learning, their artificial intelligence really takes the forefront of the calling experience are magnificent. And to me, that's what tech really is about. When people say tech's democratizing, tech enables things, to me, that is what the crux, the heart of what tech really about is enabling people who don't have access to whatever to be able to have access, to enjoy access. And then also on a personal note, I'm really looking forward to playing with Direct My Call, because we regularly send our dog to PetSmart for doggy day camp, and I have to sit on the phone, and I've memorized it by now, but I have to go through 2 or 3 prompts to get to being able to actually make the reservation for her for doggy day camp. So I can't wait to call numbers and see all the menu options.
Well, yeah. So for those who maybe didn't read all the stuff or watch the event, Direct My Call is a setting now that is a Pixel feature that allows you to, when you call somebody, there'll be kind of information about their service and help you guide your call to reach the person you need to reach at time. Because we all know how crazy it can be with having to press 4 for this or press 3. And then if you get distracted and didn't pay attention to what the menu was, like it lays out all the menu items in text on your phone, and you can press ahead to go ahead what you need to do. And they're using all this information that Google is gathering by people using the phones to make our experience that much better, which is such a great feature. It's so cool.
I love this so much. Yeah. I really wish this had been around earlier. My mom was like a bit hard of hearing, and I would often, when I would go visit her, be the one to have to do the thing, just because it was easier for me to navigate it. And I just really wish she had gotten to see this, because this is kind of amazing. And it's such kind of things like automated calling and call center menus and all this kind of stuff are so not sexy, but they're still, unfortunately, parts of our lives. And I really feel like, especially with, again, like not being too, I feel like I'm getting old and not as interested in pizzazz as much, but really good things that actually make my life better and not necessarily that kind of like hit my like, oh, that's really sexy and awesome. I want that like part of my brain. But things that last and that actually make people's lives better and actually like empowering people. I know doesn't, like that doesn't seem as big of an empowerment, but still just making like actually improving the ergonomics of life. I like it. I like it a lot. Yep. It's just good. It's just solid.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Agreed. And as they evolve these phones and as they get them to a point of maturity, there's only so many times you can redesign the look of the bezel or, reposition the cameras or whatever it is. And I think ergonomics of life is a great kind of, that's a great kind of point of it. It's just like, so, cause I remember when when smartphones came out and apps came out, all so much of the design was like frictionless design, like make it easy to users to get to be able to do what they need to do. But imagine applying that design principle to life, right? And make it easy to change your flight, to call the airline and change your flight, all to do, or to, to not to have, call screening on your phone so you don't have to answer every call or like things like that. Like that enables you to live at least in the ecosystem point of view, to Shaka, as you pointed out, if you're one of those people in the demo videos, you just have this wonderful life because your phone has enriched it so much. Right? Yeah. And I don't know if it goes that far, but it definitely can help with things when applied correctly. So
I mean, you're not too far off.
One of my favorite phones. Go ahead, Win.
Oh no, go ahead, Shaka, please. Guess first.
I was gonna say one of my favorite phones to this day when you talk about quality of life improvements. To this day is still meme. Okay, is still the HTC Touch Pro 2. It had to me what is still the best speakerphone on any phone that has ever been put out. That speakerphone was just incredible. And it's little things like that because I don't use speakerphone often, but when I'm in a situation where I do need to use a speakerphone, having something that's like a conference room quality speakerphone on the device, it really is a quality of life feature that's impactful.
Yep. And if that's important to you, having that in the phone it makes you love that phone that much more, right? And it goes that long way. All right. So all in all, I know that, so for those, at home, all of our friends all have the phones and are reviewing it and like there's an embargo in place, etc. But, and so Shaka, I don't want to put you in a position necessarily in terms of that regard, but when, from your perspective, I was going to, it's obvious because actions speak louder than words, but thumbs up or thumbs down on the phone. What did you think?
I'd say thumbs up. And I it's kind of like a incremental improvement. As you said, there's only so much. Well, I want to say pixel pushing because that's what we call it when we make these minute changes on the software side. But it is kind of like, pixel pushing. That's a good pun. It is kind of like pixel pushing and we're making like minute changes. But I'm into it. I love the less curved screen. And I can't help but think after a couple people brought it up that the curved screen might have helped the demise of my poor Pixel 6 Pro and my sister's ceramic floor. So even like little iterations like that are important. I'm looking forward to it for sure. And also that trying out pushing that telephoto, that 10x telephoto lens and all that stuff. I'm excited. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
There's so much in the camera stuff, like the zoom and the stuff, improvements they made there and things like that.
And sharpening,
So which one did you pre-order during the event?
I got the Pro because I'm very easily induced into upgrading. So I got the Pro just because I would like to see how the camera shapes up, especially compared to say like I'm waiting for my Zenfone 9. So I do want to kind of do like a head-to-head like super fancy camera system comparison. So that's why I got the Pro. Also, I'm just an upgrade addict. So
right on.
But I think when we talk about incremental upgrades, I think one of the important things with the Pixel 7 series is that we get the second gen of the Tensor processor, which one of the things they highlighted in the event was that it will enable faster processing of your photos when you take them so that you'll, if you're taking low light photos or whatever, you'll actually get a faster shutter. So you're not getting as many blurry images. And I think those improvements on the internals that most people won't recognize initially, they really can make a big difference in again those quality of life things. Again, like when you are taking photos at night and you hit that and it's a night sight photo, and it may have been with previous Pixels that you had to wait a certain amount of time and watch the little shutter, shutter cycle around, the little progress marker. And now, you may, according to their video, see that happen faster. So, something like that is going to enable you to catch that photo of a child doing something cute in low light, or a pet, or, whatever the case may be. So I think the cameras, it's going to be really interesting and really cool to see how they also stack up, because now we're talking about, this is the second iteration. Apple is well into their own silicon. Samsung has been talking about it, but they're still with Snapdragon. They have Exynos if you're outside the country. So I think it's also in the broader perspective, it's in context, that Tensor G2 and how it supports camera, how the ISP and the neural
processing or whatever,
the network in machine learning.
So
the neural network, like in Star Trek Next Generation. Oh, there it is.
And so it'd be interesting to see how that stacks up against the Bionic and against the Snapdragon 8 plus Gen 1, and and then actually see how the difference in those cameras and how quickly they process and give us good photos with faster processing.
Yeah, some of the software working with hardware on the photo side was just amazing. Like you'd mentioned, like the video stabilization that's working both with the OIS plus the software working to kind of keep your hand look as if it was steady and hold on to the feature, the shot of the skateboarder in the video, as well as we mentioned finding you take a blurry picture. But then it can magically make the picture not blurry, right? Because it's not just snapping one picture, but it's just opening up the lens and taking thousands of them, and then and using that to extrapolate what an unblurry picture looks like. It just looks amazing. It just is.
Or taking your old photos, though, even just
the old photos was pretty money. Yeah.
So there aren't any. There aren't thousands of those.
There's no data.
Images and so to me, I think that's another one of those, again, quality of life improvements where. If you took a photo with a dear friend, a loved one, and it came out blurry, but it was your favorite image, but it just wasn't the sharpest. If that feature can deliver on that and actually give you consistently or with a great amount of success, those photos unblurred, man, that's really going to be
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's a game changer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it opens it up. It's not just tied to the Pixel. So,
so Tashaka, we'll skip you because we want to hold off any sort of opinion. But for me, I give the 7 and the 7 Pro definitely a thumbs up. I haven't pre-ordered it yet. I'm still on my 6, and here's the thing. We'll get to in the watch. I'm never a order during the event person. I'm always a wait and see. Right. And so I want people who actually know to get their hands on it and all that kind of stuff. But I will say, now we'll move on to the watch. I was moved enough to pre-order during the event on this watch. So, Huyen, why don't you tell us about what your takeaways about the watch were?
So both of us got bit by this because I think both of us were not that hot on the watch. Like I think both of us right now are not wearable users, but I just something about it. It's like, well, I need to try this. And so, the Google Pixel Watch, there's a lot that we already knew about this, but, now we have, hard numbers, and here we'll do the spec rundown just because that's what we do. So you've got a 41 millimeter diameter, 12.3 millimeter thick dome glass watch face in a stainless steel body. It's got 32 gigabytes of on-device storage and is running Wear OS 3.5. And in terms of battery life, I know with it, so we'll get to the Fitbit part, but I know that it being kind of a Fitbit device, this might not make some Fitbit wearers very happy, but it does tout 24 hours of battery life, even with, a lot of like the tracking, which we'll talk about in a second. But something very interesting is that you do there is a quick charge, so that you should get about 50% battery life in 30 minutes. And another interesting thing about this, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, is that there is a $349 LTE-less version, which you need to connect via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi to your phone, or there is a $399 LTE, 4G LTE version, which, by the way, I checked before the show, is listed. So if you did pre-order the 4G LTE version and you're noticing, like Ron has, a change for the later in your shipping times. That might be why. And if you're looking to pre-order one now and you really, really want the LTE version, you're unfortunately joining a wait list. But yes, there's those two options, and that's accounts for the $50 price difference. It is water resistant up to 5 atmospheres / 50 meters. It is scratch resistant. And you have that really cool crown control for that tactile, physical, on-screen scrolling, shortcuts. There's actually a little subtle side button right above the crown control that is going to be your most recently used apps. And of course, a wide swath of band choices. And what's really cool, and I had rumors that there was going to be a proprietary, band attachment system, and there is. And the Made by Google stated that it was, very much inspired by the way that lenses affix to camera bodies, where the mechanism is rather internal. I am curious for how fiddly or easy to use that is. I know everybody's embargo, but it seems like there's maybe it's something you have to get used to, but it is a really cool feature and is really slick, in my opinion. Let's see. So with this watch, Wear OS 3.5, you get all the typical Wear features, contactless payments, notifications turn by turn with Google Maps. If you have the 4G version, you can actually stream music via YouTube Music over 4G and not have to carry your phone. So if you're, the running type and need to have your jams with you while you're running, you don't necessarily need to carry your phone in those little skinny, running pants pockets, and hopefully have it crash on the ground. Some other really interesting things. And, we keep talking about quality of life. And with the watch, there's a couple of things that I think are really great in terms of quality of life and safety. And again, not necessarily the sexiest things, but some really amazing functionality, like emergency SOS feature that allows you to alert the watch to alert emergency responders or trusted contacts. For example, when you fall, and you can't help but think maybe about your older relatives or folks with maybe mobility issues. The watch has fall detection so that if it senses a hard fall, it will do the work of automatically connecting you to emergency services and actually doing an auto dial. And kind of along with that, and now getting into Fitbit integration, there's even an ECG app that kind of goes with the watch to detect atrial fibrillation and all that stuff. So, cool. Again, not the most sexy things, but trying to make it a integral part. And these are the kind of features that I think would actually make me say, hey, maybe I can convince my parents to get, a smartwatch that is not just accoutrements to their daily life, but also kind of safety and health features. So speaking of health, we're talking about Fitbit. We pondered for many, many months about what the heck it meant that Fitbit was now owned by Google, and how would Fitbit integrate into, the Pixel Watch. And it really does seem that Fitbit is a priority on this watch. There is, quote, deep Fitbit integration. They've got a, quote, very accurate heart rate tracking sensor in there, optimized, quote, down to the processor level, which is tracking your heart rate once every second. There's all of the Fitbit goodies. I am not a very experienced at all Fitbit user, but it sounds like they're bringing all the Fitbit goodies in there with 40 exercise modes, steps, distance, built-in GPS, active zone, and then of course tracking sleep score and sleep stages. Fitbit says that it has 20 billion nights tracked and is using that data kind of to help you analyze, your sleep score, your sleep stages, and with that, your kind of readiness, your daily readiness score to kind of know whether you got to go out there and crunch really hard on your workout, or you get to kind of sit on the couch and drink your coffee because maybe you didn't have such a good night's sleep. So all of that Fitbit integration is in the watch. And that does contribute again to kind of all the sensor tracking, probably to the battery life, along with the fact that it's a smartwatch with a display and radio and all kinds of stuff. So deep Fitbit integration, it would be really great to see maybe in a few months what kind of embedded Fitbit, longtime Fitbit users think of this device. But that's a lot of stuff in a not nutshell shaped watch. Available for pre-order now. Is going to be available broadly October 13th in the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Germany, France, Japan, Australia, and Taiwan. And you can pre-order right now from Google, the Google Store, and Fitbit, and along with other global retailers. So, it's a lot. And that's why I pre-ordered one.
So Tashaka, it sounds like
I don't have this yet. I don't have it yet, so I don't have to honor.
You do have pictures of it on your wrist, though.
Well, I was going to say, per your Twitter, we were looking at your Twitter earlier, and it looks like you are excited for this watch as well, huh?
I'm a big quantified self nerd. Okay. I like metrics. Also, I have type 2 diabetes. So being able to track, monitor my heart, being able to integrate different things like I'm a cyborg now. I wear a constant glucose monitor. And so the Freestyle Libre 2 app is what I use to integrate and keep all that data in one place. So I'm really excited about the Pixel Watch. I'm very excited. It looks great. As you saw from my Twitter feed, I've never stopped wearing watches. So even when everybody moved to pulling their smartphone out their pockets and checking the time frequently or however often they did, I never did that because I just loved watches and never stopped loving them. So for me, the smartwatch was a natural fit. It was something I was naturally into from the first smartwatch, from day one, from when I used to wear my Pebble and all that. So really excited for this. And the most exciting part for me, what Wynn brought up, was the Fitbit integration. Because personally, I think Fitbit it would be in my top 3 for fitness platforms that are integrated with smartwatches. And its social features, I think, are the absolute best on the market, hands down, bar none. Nobody's touching them socially. Because like with Apple Watch, for example, when you connect with somebody and want to challenge them and do contests, they get your phone number. And so now they can text you and things like that. So whoever you're challenging and competing with, now there are third-party apps that make it so you don't have to do that. But just sticking with Apple itself on the first-party basis, people are going to get your phone number. But with Fitbit, it's your email address. So you can have like a junk email address or whatever that you use for casual connections. So if you've got 300 Facebook friends and 40 of them have Fitbits, you can be competing. And now you're going to hear the dogs because I think my wife is coming home. But so you can now, so Fitbit is just amazing with that. So I'm really excited to get into the watch, put on my chest strap, heart rate monitor, and test the heart rate monitor and the Fitbit, and the Pixel Watch with Fitbit against my chest strap and test that accuracy and all the features.
Fascinating. Well, also at the event where you got to wear the watch, just on an aside, we saw that you got to see some of friends of the show, some of our favorite people that were there with you. There's Juan Bagnell and Josh Vergara. Awesome to see such great people hanging out in LA at the Pixel event. I'm jealous.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. When you talked about the bands, so with Apple Watch, there's a company that I love the bands. Look them up. Mm-hmm. They haven't sponsored me, done anything, but I just love their products. It's Barton, Barton watch straps. And what they've done is they've taken Apple's proprietary connector and made that basically a 22 millimeter lug adapter. So you can plug that adapter into your Apple Watch and then use any of their standard 22, I believe it's 22 millimeter watch bands. So I see that happening with this, where somebody's going to come along and make an adapter that slides on that proprietary fit on the Google Watch, but then allows you to use whatever other 22 millimeter or standard watch straps you want to use with the Google Watch.
Cool. So on my standpoint, I have not had any sort of smart watch since the LG G Watch in 2014, I think it was 2014. That was running Android Wear 1.5. It was off of Marshmallow. It was the first, kind of first gen of smartwatches. And I think I wore it for a little less than a year. And then I was like, I don't like watches. I don't need smartwatches. But after watching this whole presentation of this and it being the first generation of the Pixel watches, that's why I jumped and pulled the trigger and was like, all right, I'm going to check it out. The one open question I have is with the deep Fitbit integration. I don't use Fitbit. I use Google Fit, right? Like all my data is in Google Fit. So the question will be like, can I, and I don't really care about heart rate monitoring and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm looking, I did, when you were asked earlier, I did pull the trigger on the LTE version because I want to go run and I want to not bring my phone with me. And I want to see what that experience is like because I've never done that before. So that's what I'm excited about checking out.
Yeah, sorry. And also just to update Scooter X in chat, linked a separate article where there is actually so there's a little bit more information for you Fitbit fans about things that you actually don't get with a Pixel Watch. I'm actually really confused because I think that if you check out 9 to 5 Google, they do state that they do not have, the atrial fibrillation feature that allows you to notify of regular heartbeat. Although it says it on the Google Pixel Watch blog, so that's kind of confusing. I don't know if the blog is saying with the external ECG app. It's a little unclear, but there are other things that Fitbit fans will miss, including the ability to auto start, stop, and pause a workout on the device. It will detect automatically after you've completed the workout. And there's other things like the smart wake alarms, SpO2 tracking, and the sleep profile feature, which you do not get on the watch. So just to be aware, Fitbit fans, that it's not a perfect Fitbit device, but it might be kind of like scratching your smartwatch itch while still being in the Fitbit ecosystem. So thanks, GuruX, for updating us on that.
And I have some thoughts on that, because for me, like not including the the smart alarms, that is such, like, my wife and I wake up at different times in the morning. So I wear a smartwatch to bed because I use the smart alarm to vibrate my wrist, so I don't wake her up because I get up earlier than she does. So every morning I get a vibration on my wrist that wakes me up, don't have to disturb her. So I'm sure they have vibration alarms, but the smart alarms I really like, because what it does is with your sleep cycles. So if you get up at 6 a.m. and you set your alarm, your watch alarm for 6 a.m., it will allow you with some watches to set a window. So you can set like a half-hour window prior to your wake time, and then it'll use your sleep cycle to determine when you're in light sleep and wake you up then. So if you're in deep sleep, it won't wake you. But if it's like, if your wake time is 6 a.m., at 5:55, if it determines that you're in a light sleep cycle, your alarm will then buzz your wrist or go off, however you have it set. And I've actually found that to be something that works for me. It could be placebo, I don't know, but I do find that when I have a smartwatch that I'm using with a smart alarm, that I'm less groggy when I wake up. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we will all see once we get our hands on our Pixel Watch to see if we are less groggy with smart alarms or not, and see what else it does under the hood or on our wrist. But okay, great. We ran really long there, but can't move on without touching on the only real surprise from the event. And when I was doing the event, the event coverage with Leo, I was saying before the event, I'm like, we know we're going to see the Pixel 7, Pixel 7 Pro. We know we're going to see the Pixel Watch. We've already heard from Nest with their with the Wi-Fi device and the doorbell and the new home app. So what is left to be a surprise? I said I was crossing my fingers for either a glimpse of the foldable Pixel that we've heard so much about this year, or to get more details on the Pixel tablet. And boy, did we get more details on the Pixel tablet. So we got a preview of the Pixel tablet that's coming in 2023. It's also going to be running on the Tensor G2 chip. And we got a lot of up close looks at the beautiful porcelain, the nano ceramic coating that looks like porcelain made of premium materials and finishes. Available in a range of colors, but the big thing that blew everyone away, and Shashaka, as you mentioned earlier, was and we knew this was coming, but we didn't see how it would work or what it would work. But a speaker dock, basically a dock that snaps the tablet onto it that is also a speaker base, which now makes this tablet both a smart home controller wherever that base exists, or a tablet you take on the couch and go use around the house and that sort of thing. I would say I was immensely impressed by this presentation of what the tablet potentially could be. We've seen so much work done over the past year plus since Android 12L about, how much have we talked about like designing for larger devices and things like that.
Oh,
it all comes to this, right? And so so what you've got is you've got a functional productivity, media, whatever you want to do device with a tablet that then also snaps to this base and becomes a smart display for somewhere in your house. Really, really cool. And I will order this the second they open it up for ordering. So.
Same magnetic base. I kind of, we had some like leaks about how it might attach to the dock, but knowing that it's magnetic, I don't know. It's something about magnets just makes me feel like that's freaking cool. Let me get that. So I'm really excited. We use our Nest Hub Max like every single day, and it's kind of acting weird. So I don't know. It might be time to usher it out and usher in a new like era of Pixel tablets. So
yeah, well, that was my question because I put my Nest Hub is in the kitchen, right?
Yeah,
and I don't
same.
necessarily because it's small and it sits on the windowsill right by the sink, and so like I might leave that there, but I don't know where I'd put this. I don't know. It requires you to rethink the whole smart home. But I don't know. So Shaka, what did you think of the tablet? Are you vibing the tablet?
I was floored. It was I have mixed emotions about this because of Android's history on the tablet. And while they've come a long way with Android 12L, I want to see devs really get on it and maximize their apps and experiences for the larger screen. There are some apps that are beautiful on larger screens, things like Evernote, Remember the Milk. There's some great third-party apps out there. But I really want to see people just really embrace this and do some beautiful things with their large format versions of their apps, and again, ecosystem. So, if this is able to tie into your phone and all your devices, so that you can see text messages on the tablet, different things like that, and with RCS, that's a thing. So it'll be great to see the integration into the ecosystem that this tablet has with now the Pixel Watch and our Pixel smartphones.
Well, that's the big question as to whether or not this hardware device can move the needle with developers and enough users to justify that work. So time will tell. Yep. But it was a packed event. It was fantastic. We've run so long talking about it. So we're going to take a quick break. We got some more news, but first we want to thank IT Pro TV for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. And whether you're looking to start your career in IT, master the profession, or develop your own team, IT Pro TV offers virtual learning solutions for everyone. IT Pro TV is more than 5,800 hours of IT training with current content added daily, so courses are always up to date, and you can learn by doing. IT Pro TV sets itself apart with hands-on training via their hosted virtual labs. You can join an online community of IT learners of over 220,000, in fact, share in forums, and engage with instructors directly. With courses you can binge in 20 to 30-minute episodes, you'll also have access to IT Pro TV's searchable transcripts to let you zero in on exactly the info you need. And you can learn when and where you want, on a desktop, Apple TV, Roku, wherever, or hit the road with your tablet or mobile device. Each month, IT Pro TV offers multiple free webinars you can watch, catch the live broadcast, or watch on demand at your convenience. And October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So catch the following IT Pro TV webinar coming up for the month of October. And that's on Thursday, October 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. All things cybersecurity with Tim Medin, CEO of Red Siege Information Security. Also, be sure to check out their cybersecurity free weekend on October 15th and 16th. Tim Broom, co-founder of IT Pro TV, says it best himself. We want to make life easier for people who want an IT career. It's as simple as that. So what can you do? You can get 30% off when you sign up for itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AAA30. That's 30% off when you sign up at itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AAA30. IT Pro TV, build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. Thanks, IT Pro TV, for being awesome and teaching us things. We appreciate it. And now we will see if Burke is ready because we've got news. And my guess is Burke was not ready.
Oh, no.
He's now cursing my name.
Oh, no.
I remembered the new
Oh, no.
I have a script. I'm not reading it.
He was prepared too.
It was
No, you
written
gotta
for the
read it.
beginning of the show.
All right, let's try it again. Here we go.
It won't make any sense unless it's before the first thing we already talked about.
All right. Well, too bad. We don't have a time machine. So picking up the news after the Pixel event, there's still stuff going on in the Android world. And in fact, some of the questions that people had coming out of the event were what Pixel 7 features are going to come to the older Pixels. Well, luckily, the folks over at Phone Arena had a list that the Pixel 6 and 6a will get clear calling, the new silence quick phrase, guided frame, the improved real tone and spatial audio. Pixel 4a onward will get the new at a glance features and audio transcripts and messages, which is awesome. And Google also told the German Cashies blog that Face Unlock won't come to the Pixel 6 Pro. So that gives you a sense of what things were coming for the Pixel 7 that if you don't get a Pixel 7 that you might want to get in on. And yeah, we didn't even touch on some of those features, bringing back Face Lock, right? Finally Google's going to try to get it back and play in that kind of area. The audio transcripts and messages, the new at a glance stuff, like so much stuff was packed into the software side of it. So.
Yeah. And it's nice that they will be added to the Pixel 6. I feel like we keep talking, this keeps coming up. And usually we talk about like OS and security updates, but a lot of these cool features are because they are software features, to some extent should be like, backported and like, in the kind of spirit of letting people keep the phones longer and still getting all the goodies. I'm excited for this. And yeah, like actually, it is actually weird. Like the Face Unlock, I felt like was really mixed when it came to the Pixel 4, but now it's back, and that hopefully people will kind of appreciate it more. Sounds like people weren't appreciative, like that it works out this time.
It was definitely criticized when they initially rolled it out, so much so that they got rid of it, right? Like they moved it, they put it. It was one of those things where they put it out there and then put it back on the shelf, and now they're ready to put it back out. I mean, I don't know, Tashaka, how do you feel about the demo with the new Face Unlock?
We're in an age where just things are kind of all over the place. Sometimes we're wearing masks, sometimes we're not. Some places we are, some places we aren't. There are people in climates where they're going to have gloves on starting any day now. So I welcome it as long as it functions frictionlessly, as you spoke of before. I'd say more options, the better, as long as it doesn't get to the point where it's just overwhelming.
I tell you what I don't look forward to, just because I'm tired, but I don't look forward to all the examples of Face unlocking for the wrong person, like the naysayers who want to prove that it doesn't work or whatever it is, like all that stuff, like, because I feel like that's just low hanging fruit. But yes, I understand the security implications of it, and we're going to have it at some point. Like that's going to happen. Like my Google phone unlocks when my kid looks at it or whatever they do, right? But I don't know. I like the fingerprint scanner on the glass. I know I'm in the minority there, but I don't mind it as much as everybody else does.
Well, I'm with you in that too. I actually love the fingerprint scanner on the glass, even though the side-mounted fingerprint scanners on some devices are rear-mounted, are wonderful. I personally prefer the scanner on the glass.
Honestly, that's the one thing I hear the most to talk about the Pixels, is people missing the scanner on the back of the phone. Like the ergonomic, just like that one there. Yeah.
And it had the extra shade pulled down. But I mean, I will say, like, we definitely had some stories about the Pixel 6 and fingerprint readers misidentifying or misauthenticating people with fingerprints anyway, which obviously is its own security, like rabbit hole. Rabbit holes can be fun, I guess, if you're going to Wonderland, but no authentication, unfortunately, at this day and age is 100%. So I kind of was a little bit creeped out by the Face Unlock on the Pixel 4, but I kind of got really used to it, especially since I always kind of have control of my phone. I know like not everybody may feel that way, so it was a really nice way of feeling both secure, but also just like that really simple convenience of like the face recognition. So I think in addition to, fingerprint feature functionality and other authentication, it makes a lot of sense.
Give the choice. I will.
Yeah.
When it works, it is very Star Trek-y. It is very kind of future and that sort of thing. So it's kind of neat in that regard. But anyway, so some of those Pixel features that are coming to the 7 won't be limited just to the 7. Some folks on the 6 and 4s and 5s will be able to get it. So that's good to hear. So. All right. So Huynh, you got the next story about archiving.
Yeah. So Google announced a feature back in March 2022, which was this year, back in March, about the idea of archiving apps. So a lot of times, depending on what your phone is and what your situation is, how many videos you took that weekend and maybe didn't quite update or back up to Google Photos yet, you might be running out of space. And apps often very much are a kind of prime suspect when it comes to you losing out on space. So what a lot of people do, I know I do this too, is delete apps that they aren't currently using, but that gets to be a big PITA in case you enter in a situation, say like Uber. I generally don't like to use Uber, but in some countries you have to use it. So I often have it deleted, but whenever I find that I have to use Uber, and I think actually Mishaal gave this exact same example in an article that he wrote about this, you have to log in, because by uninstalling and then reinstalling the app, all the app data, including your account information, has been lost. So to help people kind of manage their storage space, but also not necessarily lose data associated with that app, Google is introducing an app archive feature. So what an app archive is really just a specialized version of an app that is really, really stripped down, so that is able to persist your app data, but not have a lot of the extra resources, whether it's images, code, all kinds of stuff. To kind of stay on that phone. And what happens is when you're ready to use that app again, you basically reactivate it, which does involve a download from Google Play. And then you'll be able to use the full-blown app for free, or not for free, but after the reactivation, and still have all of your app data persisted. Mishaal, as usual, wrote a very good and very detailed breakdown on what this feature is and how it works. And it seems like Assemble Debug, which is an awesome screen name, by the way, if you're a person who uses Gradle, that's a kind of a developer in joke. Assemble Debug on Twitter noticed that the app archive feature is not really open to the public per se, but that Google News does seem to be supporting it. So if you're kind of curious how this feature might work, and you have Google News, you might actually want to give it a try with Google News, I think. But it is stated as being not quite open to the public until, quote, later this year. But it is being worked on. So there you go. If you need to save space. Yeah.
It definitely is reminiscent of the old Nextbit Robin, who had the exact same thing, basically, where
really?
you had, if you had an app installed and you didn't use it after a certain period of time, it kind of grayed out and it stored the app in the cloud, and all you need to do is tap on it to restore it. So it's interesting to see what is old is new again. So
yeah, for sure. It does require connection. So if you're thinking about this for like an offline mode, you'll need to be on a connection to obviously download it again. But yeah, something to look forward to.
It's Shaka. What do you think of this? Do you think it's something you'd use?
My dogs.
The dog does, right?
Overjoyed. They think it's a great idea. No, I mean, you always hear about users having to delete things to do an OS update, for example. So yeah, thumbs up, big time.
Cool. All right. Yeah, cool. It could be definitely a useful tool. And for those of you who want to go onto the blog over at esper.io, friend of the show, Mishaal's got a great article explaining APK archiving if you want to check more out about that. And thank you, Mishaal, for flagging it. And lastly, a bit of news that is kind of a little bit hardware, and it's not 100% Android, but we had to talk about it. Recently, Intel and Samsung teamed up at Intel's innovation event during the keynote to display Samsung and Intel's collaboration on slidable displays. We're big fans of foldables here. We're getting ready for the rollables. We're getting ready for all that sort of stuff. Well, now get ready for the slidable. And for those of you who are online, and there was some on The Verge, there was an article that has a GIF of it, that sort of thing. You can see the person on stage displaying it, taking a 13-inch tablet and sliding it to become a 17-inch display, which is just amazing. It's magic here. They also, it wasn't just hardware alone, but Intel showed off its new Unison software, which is able to connect Intel powered computers to smartphones, including Android and iPhones. Like I said, we've been looking at foldables, we've been getting ready for rollables, but like now imagine having a 13-inch tablet that also can slide out to become a 17-inch display that you can then hook up to your computer, or or to your phone, or to anything like that. Just think of what you can do with the slidable display.
We need to come up with
closer to Star Trek.
I love it.
Yep,
we need to find a good name for this class of devices, and I don't want to necessarily say ubbles because I don't want to like get into kind of like it just sounds a little bit awkward, but we need to find a new class of name. Let me just call it Star Trek devices or something. This is just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, we all want the Star Trek future. That's what I mean. I've been talking about it on the show for years, and with the one exception of with the phones, I want the Expanse phone, the little pane of glass that does everything. But yeah. But these slidables look. I mean, again, keep in mind that this is a prototype and it's a display. It's not necessarily like they're prophesizing that this could be a tablet that expands out to a display, and we don't see how it connects to phones and that sort of thing. But you see the display technology advancing in a way that I just want to see wacky stuff happening. Give me a little display that folds that like an origami and becomes a huge 20-inch monitor or something like that. Like that's so cool. So I don't know. We'll see if anybody can do it. Samsung with all their various technology and stuff can. So yeah, really cool stuff.
I must imagine the presenter of that slidable screen was saying prayers to every single deity that they could as they're pulling this out, because this is that kind of demo you don't want to mess up, and it looks great. I just imagine if that was me, I'd be sweating so hard, like, oh, please work, please, don't mess it up.
It is pretty cool magic, right? When you look at it, it's like, how does it do that? That's so cool.
I know.
But yeah. So, although Burke is saying in our backroom chat that slidable just sounds wrong, which I'm with. Slidable is a little too. Foldable is nice. Slidable is a little weird, but we'll see.
Maybe the electric slide, and then I'll be happy and I'll do a dance.
Boogie woogie woogie.
Elastiscreen.
Boogie woogie woogie. Yeah.
Oh, I like Elastiscreen. That's like a little Incredibles beat to it. Nice. I like that. So, all right. Well, while you guys ponder the name for this new line of displays, we're going to take a moment and thank our last sponsor for the evening, because this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Collide. And the challenge with device security has always been that it's difficult to scale. The bigger you are, the more edge cases you introduce, and the easier it is for significant issues to escape your notice. When remote work took over, that challenge got exponentially harder. Whether you're a fast-growing startup that needs to graduate from managing device inventory in Google Sheets, or an enterprise trying to speed up service desk issues, you need visibility into your fleet of devices in order to meet security goals and keep everything running smoothly. But how do you achieve that visibility when your design team uses Macs, accounting is over on Windows, and your most talented developers are on Linux? Well, easy. You get Collide. Collide is an endpoint security solution that gives IT teams a single dashboard for all devices, regardless of their operating system. Collide can answer questions MDMs can't. Questions like, do you have production data being stored on devices? Are all your developers' SSH keys encrypted? And a host of other data points that you'd have to write a custom shell script in order to learn about. So think about it. If a Linux vulnerability is exposed tomorrow, how will you figure out how many machines are at risk? File a ticket with the team that manages your MDM and wait days to get a report back? Send a mass email and hope that the Linux users open it and read it? With Collide, you have real-time access to your fleet's data, and instead of installing intrusive agents or locking down devices, Collide takes a user-focused approach that communicates security recommendations to your employees directly on Slack. You can answer every question you have about your fleet without intruding on your workforce. Visit collide.com/AAA to find out how. And if you follow that link, they'll hook you up with a goodie bag, including a t-shirt, just for activating a free trial. That's KOLIDE.com/AAA. That's KOLIDE.com/AAA. And we thank Collide for the cool t-shirt, the goodie bag, and also keeping all of our users safe in our fleet of devices. That's pretty awesome. Good stuff, Collide. Thank you. And with that, let's get into some apps. Oh, the drama with Android Auto and driving mode. Quinn, tell us all about the woe. Somewhere I hear Flo screaming, by the way. So
I know. I wish Flo was there. Tashaka, are you an assistant driving mode user or a former Android Auto for phones user at all?
I've played with it. We've had dalliances, but no long-term use.
Okay, well, maybe that's for the better, because assistant driving mode is getting worse. That's a bit judgmental, but basically assistant driving mode, which was meant to replace Android Auto for phone screens, which we all were very, very, very sad about, and getting very like brusque messages all summer about how Google was killing Android Auto for phone screens. Well, it was supposed to be supplanted by Google Assistant driving mode, which is, had been announced like way back in 2019 and had been targeted for a summer 2019 launch to replace, the Android Auto experience, which, had gone through redesigns to be more kind of car specific. And so there was like this kind of in between niche with phones that needed to be filled. We didn't get Google Assistant driving mode until not for realsies until September 2021. There was a semi-release of it in November 2020 as kind of accessed through Google Maps. So you have this whole dashboard where you have, more driving apps interfaces with a lot of different cards that allowed you to say launch, media, launch a call. And there was a card for navigation, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because in driving mode, what is a kind of top 3 feature that you would expect a driving mode to have? Navigation. And you would have a little card at the top that showed your current, navigation destination as powered by Google Maps. Well, guess what? That's going away. That whole nice little map and navigation at the top of your, Google Assistant driving mode is going away. And so I don't know if anyone else but me is asking, okay, then what do I need this other crappy thing for? Because I will tell you, I hate it. I don't think this is Wynn interjecting her very biased personal opinion, but I think it sucked. And so now it sucks even more with no driving mode. So it seems like from this that what Google is trying to do is shift you back to Google Maps, which is again kind of that intermediary kind of initial landing or kind of jumping off point for Google Assistant driving mode anyway, that came around in November 2020. So if you go to Google Assistant driving mode and you search for location, you try to navigate, it is now just going to redirect you to Google Maps anyway. And of course, Google Maps already has a driving mode enabled with all of these things. It has a launcher for kind of driving, friendly apps like, your podcast and your music. It has, features for, say, receipt, like kind of being read and being able to reply via voice to messages that come in. And so all that is in Google Maps. So if you are in Google Assistant driving mode and you try to navigate somewhere, you're going to get bumped over to Google Maps. But if for some reason you really, really wanted to go back to the Google Assistant driving mode, home screen, if you're in Google Maps and navigating, because that's where you're going to end up now, and you try to go back to Google Assistant driving mode, because there's no more navigation in the Google Assistant driving mode, what's going to happen is you're going to go back there and then your navigation via Google Maps is going to be really smushed into a little picture-in-picture, which in my opinion is not that safe for driving because now you'll just get that little picture-in-picture. And yeah, it's just confusing and weird and awful. And it kind of seems like, kind of part of this process of Google bailing on a lot of Google Assistant-based features, including this driving mode. So in the future, really what you're going to get is what you're going to be using is Google Maps driving mode, Google Maps in driving mode. So this is a mess. Like this whole, I don't even know what to call this whole experiment with like moving away from Android Auto into Google Assistant driving mode as a replacement. And now never mind, oopsie whoopsie, we're just going to use Google Maps is a freaking mess. The interface and the experience is a mess. And dang, am I mad about it? I'm trying to be mad for Flo because that's what it is, y'all.
Well, I was gonna say, Huyen, how do you really feel about all this? That's what I don't quite understand.
It's ridiculous. I'm reading this story and I'm getting confused. Like, what the heck? Anyway,
I will admit that Flo and you were the only two people. I'm sure many other people, but that I knew that used assistant driving mode as much as you did. I have Android Auto in my car in the head unit. I plug my phone and I use it from there. So like I've never. That's what I've just used, right? But following this along at home, like you said, and a lot of people in the chat are saying and stuff like that, it's just so confusing. And I don't understand what the whole point of it is. Like, I don't know what the end game is. And like, I wish they would just explain what the goal is in a way, like with the home app redesign, they're like, oh, well, the app's been around for 10 years and now we want to do like, they give some justification to the changes, but this, they just have no justification to those changes. And it's just wacky. So,
because they haven't done anything like this before with, let's say, I don't know, Hangouts.
Wow.
Hey,
I don't know. So this is not a surprising move.
They don't have a great track record. That's true.
Infuriating and not curse your what is it? Curse your sudden but inevitable backtracking to previous apps. Google. So if you liked Google Assistant driving mode, I'm really sorry for my rant, but if you wanted navigation, it's going to be Google Maps. And I think actually this whole driving mode is going to in the can. It sucks. It really sucks. Yep. Okay.
Oh, well. All right. Well, next time we have Flo on the show, we'll hear what she thinks. I imagine it's going to be
we got to ask her.
A lot of same place. All right. Well, a couple other small notes on apps. And again, shout out to, co-host on the show, Mishaal, who tweeted about this, which is fascinating. Something that one of those things, it's like, I can't believe it took this long to get there. But Google Clock finally lets you set an alarm for a specific date and lets you turn an alarm off on specific dates if you set up a recurring alarm. So that's Google Clock version 7.3. Great use cases. You want your alarm to go off at 6 a.m. every day, except maybe on Christmas when you want to sleep in, or on Thanksgiving when you're going to sleep in, right? So you can add date specific context to recurring alarms, which is great. So thank you, Mishaal, for flagging that. Yay, Google Clock.
Heck yeah.
Maybe that sounds like a lot of work to me. Like if I can have a recurring alarm, now, look, I already have to choose my vacation time at work, right? So now I'm sitting here with this alarm and going, oh, no, don't want it to go off on Christmas. No, not my wife's birthday, my son's birthday. Like that just, first world problems, like super hashtag on that, but that sounds like a lot of work.
It's true. It's a very good point. Very, very good point.
It's like, I think you're just spoiled by all your smart alarms with your Fitbit and stuff, all you fancy Fitbit people. So
quite possible.
All right. And last, Wynn, tell us about what Todoist did.
Okay, get ready for your drinking game because Wynn's going to talk about Jetpack Compose. But so I'm just going to briefly kind of talk about this. So Wear OS used to be that for Android developers to develop a Wear OS companion app, they had to use the old View system, which is out. View system is outdated, and I've talked about Jetpack Compose many, many times. Glug, glug, glug. Take your drink. And it is a much faster, easier way to develop UI. And actually, during the summer, they introduced Compose for Wear OS, which kind of takes the same principles of fast, rapid development and brought it to Wear OS. And there's a lot really cool about it. It makes a lot of things easier. And if you are a fan of Todoist, which is a kind of GTD style app, I've been using it at least on the web since like 2007. Todoist actually redid their Wear OS app, which was previously using the old Wear system, to use Compose for Wear OS. And that's all well and good. But the stunning thing is that they said they had a 50% increase in downloads of their Wear OS app after using Compose. And I think that they cite a lot that they were able, because of Compose, to do a lot of rapid development, do a lot better design. And I talk about this all the time about ROI and how much time design and implementation takes. And so I think this is just I brought this up and I wanted to talk about it on the show because Wynn just doesn't talk about Compose for her own selfish, fun, but that there is, user-facing business impacts from this toolkit. And here it is. And so congratulations to Todoist. And hopefully that's kind of just inspiration for other folks. I think a lot of times I've been in rooms where Google goes to developers, hey, would you like a toolkit for making wearables? Hey, would you like better ways of doing large screens? And we all kind of go, we all kind of make a face and say, I don't know if I have time for this. So because
it's work, it's additional work, right? Like
it's additional work.
Yeah. But when you're given the option to increase your growth rate by 50% or more, does that justify it?
Yeah. I mean, I would say yes, just especially for Wear OS, which again, because I think all of us have been, I don't want to say lazy, but just kind of reticent to kind of spend that time. I think that's kind of an amazing story. And also, I just love Todoist. Been using them since 2007. And hey, I'll be able to get them on my Pixel Watch. So
I'm tempted. I'm a former Todoist user. Now I'm tempted to go back and use it because I'm going to need stuff to put on my watch. So, yeah.
I really hope that, a lot of software incentivizes developers to do that, because I think that's one of the things that makes a smartwatch a worthy experience is when you have some really fundamental apps that are beautifully designed for whatever the design language of that particular device is, and everything just really works. Like I have an app called Strong, and I use that on Apple Watch, and it is just so well done, and it beyond just looking good, the functionality of the app is phenomenal. If you're a gym rat, if you're somebody that uses apps on the market. And so I look forward to the potential for apps to see increases like that, and will incentivize people to say, you know what, okay, let me go ahead and develop this app, my app. Let me go ahead and change it, make it so that it works on the Pixel Watch.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I was going to say, Shashaka, when we get our Pixel Watches, we're going to need you to come back and tell us these are the must-have apps for all those reasons. You know,
yes. I am here for that. I am totally
fellow fitness warrior. I need recommendations. So,
all right, I got you, sister. I got you.
Yes, cool. Please come back. Mm-hmm.
All right. So up next, we're going to get into your feedback. But first, our good friend of the show, J.R. Raphael, is here not only with a response to old Peter 895 tabs from last week's episode, but he's got a bonus tip if you love widgets. So let's hear from JR.
Hey, all right, before we get started, I want to take a quick sec to answer some reader feedback we had in last week's episode. AAA listener Peter wrote in to talk about one of our earlier tips around Chrome. He was a little puzzled because he noticed he didn't have a number up in the browser's upper right corner on his phone showing how many tabs he had opened. Instead, he had this weird little symbol that he couldn't quite figure out what it was, why it was there, what it was trying to tell him. Now, if you were watching or listening last week, you might also remember that Peter discovered he had 895 tabs open in Chrome on his phone. 895 tabs, man, that's impressive. I feel like we need to send Peter a trophy or something. He deserves some kind of reward for that. That is an accomplishment. But here's what's interesting. That's also actually the explanation for why Peter wasn't seeing a number. Chrome's got this curious little habit of replacing the tab count in its upper right corner with what's actually a sideways smiling emoticon. It shows up anytime you enter triple-digit terrain, as soon as you hit 100 tabs or higher. I guess, I don't know, maybe it's Google's way of saying, hey, buddy, your browsing habits are just hilariously out of control. So that's what was going on with Peter's setup there. And if you ever see that same little smiling symbol in the corner of Chrome on your phone, well, now you'll know why. So as for today's tip, man, it is a good one. If you've got a Pixel phone, try this. Get your Pixel within earshot and say, hey, Google, show me the Keep widget. Would you look at that? Assistant on a Pixel can actually pull up a widget on demand anytime from anywhere on your device. How wild is that? I honestly had no idea about this. I was completely shocked when someone from our Android Intelligence Platinum community stumbled onto this the other day and passed it along. Crazy stuff, and it isn't just Keep either. The same thing will actually work with a bunch of other Google apps, including Calendar, Chrome, Clock, Maps, Google News, YouTube Music. You can actually even do it with the widget from the eponymous Google app, though that's just a simple search box, so there isn't really much point. Just goes to show you, though, no matter how long you've been using this stuff, how well you think you know Android inside and out, there's always something new to discover. Hey, speaking of which, if you've got a Pixel, you've got to come check out my free Pixel Academy e-course. It's a 7-day email adventure that'll help you make all sorts of useful new discoveries about your phone. The course is completely free, no catch. Just head over to androidintel.net/twit to get started. Just scroll to the bottom of the screen to find the Pixel Academy option. That's androidintel.net/twit. I'll see you there, and I will see you right back here next week.
All right. Well, thank you, JR. And I agree with you, Peter. 895 tabs. Definitely, we should get him some sort of medal or plaque or something to celebrate that achievement. But
there's no Guinness entry for that.
We should look up that. Yeah, the most number of tabs. Yeah, good point. But I will say I share JR's kind of fascination and wonderment at Android, and that there are so many undocumented little Easter eggs, but little things like that. I had no idea you could pull up widgets through the assistant in that way. Like no idea. Like they have only so much time to announce all this cool stuff they have, but there's so much stuff under the hood of this of these phones and in this OS. It's just fast. Did you guys know about that one or
no?
I did not. Yeah. I was caught unawares.
Cool. All right. Well, so we're all learning. Thanks, JR, for teaching us all something a little bit.
I'm sorry. Can I just say real quick, over his screen right, his left shoulder, his left elbow, right above it, was that a Google Nexus light I saw streaming in the background?
It might have been. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Nexus Q. A Nexus Q. Is that what you spotted? The Nexus
Q, yes. Yes.
The Hall of Fame device that never came out. Yet we all have one in our basement. Yep. So
sharp eyes, dude. Right over. Yep. You see like the characteristic little aquamarine ring. Heck yeah.
I reviewed that back in the day, and I still have a picture of it in my Google Photos archive.
All right.
Heck, I still have mine, Tashaka. I totally still have mine. Like, it's a great paperweight. Wow. So yeah. So
I wonder if we still had ours. My husband got it. I remember just thinking when he brought it home, I was like, what is this? What's it for? Cool. And then we moved like a couple years ago, and I can't remember whether out of there it is over JR's shoulder there.
There it is.
Yeah, he's JR's got like this like IKEA calyx shelf in the back there, lit up real nice and blue. And then in kind of the bottom left, there's that nice Nexus all lit up and glowing.
Well, I feel like
the rest of the lighting. It's nice.
I feel like whenever this comes up, and I don't know, Burke, if you can pull up the link I just put in the Slack, we always need to check eBay to see if you want a Nexus Q, could you get one? And sure enough, there are currently 3 Nexus Qs up on eBay. If you just search Nexus Q on eBay, you can get one for $220 or best offer. You can get one for $95 or best offer. That one has no cables, so keep in mind. And then I'm going
to order the $1,000 one.
That's what I'm getting to, Bert. Jeez, just don't step on this.
I have to.
The new sealed in the box, brand new, never opened Nexus Q for $999. You can get that right now on eBay if you want it. So there it is.
I mean, the description notes the exclamation point, Google history, exclamation point. Those 2 exclamation points is worth that extra $700, man. You gotta get it. Google history. Oh my gosh.
So, all right. Well, that said, let's get into your feedback. As always, the amazing folks in the All About Android community email us and call us. They email us at AAA@twit.tv, or they call us at 347-SHOW-AAA. And of course, you can email us with your own audio or video, much like how JR does with his video file. He just sends us the video file. We'll play it. If it's short, to the point, and awesome, go do it. But that said, Wynn, you got the first email.
Yes. And this first email is from, I am so sorry if I mispronounced your handle, Muggins, Mugginz, Muggins. This first email is from Muggins, and Muggins writes us saying, "I'm looking to pick up a fitness tracker for use with my Pixel SA. Wouldn't a fitness tractor be really great? Like I think
a fitness tractor should be the next big thing, the next Google,
the next thing, next Pixel. Oh, that's part of the ecosystem. Oh, that's the next part of the ecosystem. There you go. Sorry. So, I'm looking to pick up a fitness tracker for use with my Pixel 6a. I'm not keen on installing third-party tracking apps and would just rather use Google Fit by itself with the step tracker. Do you know of any step trackers that don't require their own and possibly sneaky software to use with an Android phone? Thanks, Muggins." And you can definitely write in and yell at me if I mispronounce that. So, do y'all know of any step trackers that don't require their own software and they just integrate directly with Google Fit at all? Because my thinking was that, like, inevitably, when you have a piece of hardware that it connects to your Android phone, inevitably it needs some kind of its own software just to do that hardware specific firmware updates and configurations and settings. So it's really, really hard to find. I will say though, if you're looking for, if you just want to count steps, like Google the phone does it on its own. It's not as accurate as a fitness tracker, but I don't know. Do y'all have any suggestions? Or maybe
one thing that I haven't had a chance to play with yet, because I haven't had the Pixel Watch just yet, is this whole Fitbit integration. Is that going to allow me to choose whether I use Google Fit or whether I use the Fitbit app? So if this Fitbit integration does allow you to use the Fitbit app to connect with the Pixel Watch, then how much time is it before you're able to actually use Fitbit's trackers directly with your Google phone? I mean, you can already do that. My advice personally is like you had issues with Android Auto, I have issues with Google Fit. Not my favorite fitness app personally.
Yes, agree.
Fitbit is much better than Google Fit. So I would advise the user to actually get an inexpensive Fitbit tracker, use the Fitbit app on your Google phone, and you're going to get so much more. One of my favorite things about the Fitbit app is the activity zone minutes. The American Heart Association recommends that you get a certain amount of activity a week to keep your heart healthy. And so you don't have to know all the particulars. You just look at your fitness, your active zone minutes at the end of the week and see that you've completed the requisite amount of active zone minutes. That could be walking, running, whatever the activity. And then you're good according to the American Heart Association's recommendations for your minimal level of activity. So I'd say get a Fitbit tracker and use the Fitbit app.
All right.
I will say actually that the Pixel Watch does not come with Google Fit preloaded. And I guess you might take that as a sign of the direction and prioritization of Google when it comes to their now Fit tracking software. So I really like that suggestion, Tashaka. I think that Fitbit, at least for now, is what Google is going for. Again, never quite know how things will turn out as with the other stories we've talked about. But it seems like Fitbit has a lot more features, like you were talking, like all the stuff that unfortunately the Pixel Watch is missing right now. But there was a lot of features that you intimated, and also that the article that we talked about earlier seems to say that Fitbit has over Google Fit anyway. So it might be a richer
definitely.
experience.
If they have 3/4 of the features still in the Fitbit app, it will still be a more robust experience than Google Fit.
Well, I'm a loyal Google Fit user, so I'm not going to let my app get beat up on.
Shoot,
but that said, I am not nearly I don't think I'm nearly as intensive as you guys are with fitness. I just literally have it because it's on the phone, and I probably represent a more common user. But I use the Adidas running app, and that plugs into Google Fit and gives my running stats into Google Fit. And then Google Fit just keeps track of my, the heart stuff and all that fun stuff. And that's all. And it does what I need it to do. But I'm going to check out the world of Fitbit when I get my Pixel Watch. So maybe, Tashaka, I will join you in liking that. So who knows? We'll see. All right. Well, that's some good advice there. So there it is. So check out the Fitbit app. Our next email comes in from Thomas, who says Thomas just listened to episode 598 and the discussion on Google Assistant staying activated when used on the phone. This feature is a byproduct of continued conversation within Google Assistant settings and can be shut off. Once shut off, Google Assistant will close itself after answering your question or performing the requested action. This should save you all the time and answer the listener's question. Take care and keep up the good work. And thank you, Thomas. And I'm completely kicking myself for not remembering continued conversation and that being the answer to that question. And I'm trying to find back to the person who had asked for it. What episode is a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, basically the question is that Assistant doesn't go away after I talk to it. And how do I get it to go away? Which is interesting. And so continued conversation, if you turn that off, that will take care of it. So
I want them to build a different phrase into that, because when you watch like spy movies or like these government espionage movies, whenever somebody wants the people to go away, they say, "Can I have the room?" or "Let us have the room." So I want to be able to talk to Google Assistant and say, after I say something like, "What's the weather outside?" and it tells me, then I say, "Can I have the room?" and she stops listening. That's what I want.
That would be really cool. I want that. Customized hot phrases. Heck yeah.
I'm trying to see what episode that was, but I can't seem to find it. But yeah, so previous episode within recent memory enough that Thomas wanted to write in with that tip. So if you wrote in about that, I apologize for not remembering your name, but just turn off continued conversation. So
I think Flo was on that episode because I feel like Flo chimed in as well, but I might be wrong about that. So anyway, just for later for research.
All right, I will find it. But until then, Quinn, you got the honors this week. So
yes, and it is now time for the email of the week. And the email of the week comes to us all the way from Finland. And I was practicing this, and from Ilkka Viini Kanoja. I hope I pronounced that somewhere in the ballpark of correct. You can email us again. Ilkka, and yell at me. But Ilkka from Finland is writing us to say, a longtime listener from Finland here. I almost wrote in last week regarding the open browser tabs indicator in Chrome, but now I finally got around to it after listening to Peter's feedback in the latest episode. I love that the continuing saga of all of us got too many Chrome tabs open is generating just so much like engagement and feedback and JR intelligence, Android intelligence. So unless Chrome's recently changed its behavior, the tab indicator changes to the old school ASCII laughing emoji, which is a colon followed by a capital D, just in case my messages get mangled by some automatic smiley conversion. And I'm quite positive that this was a thing Peter was seeing but didn't recognize. I discovered that little Easter egg back when I was on Pixel 5 and had a good laugh at Chrome's little jab at my ridiculous amount of open tabs. Currently, I'm using the Samsung browser as my daily phone browser, and it's got a hard limit of 99 open tabs. If you try to go beyond that, the oldest tab is closed automatically. And just in case you're worried, my admittedly bad tab hygiene does not reflect my personal hygiene. ASCII laughing emoji. I just have a shortcut to a form I frequent in and open 10 plus times a day on my home screen. And that shortcut always opens a new tab. Combine that with me being too busy/lazy to manually manage open tabs, I appreciate that Samsung browser sets a hard limit that's enforced automatically. Although I sometimes miss that Chrome's "I see you getting silly again" indicator. Thanks and keep up the good show. And yeah, I also did not know what that was for a long time. So I definitely enjoy getting jabbed at by Chrome. Oh, wait, hold on, Tashaka. Can we put you on the spot and ask you how many tabs you have open on a mobile device?
Oh Lordy. I am somewhat a tab manager. So
that's lovely though.
I have 67 and let's see. I have 73 in Chrome right now.
Excellent. Okay, I was at 69, so we're close. We're kind of approximate. So wait a minute. That's rude. That's not so bad.
Sheesh.
That's like 10% of like the award-winning Peter with 895. That's just rude.
It's not. It's okay. It's not It's not a horrible, use of tabs, but
yeah,
but
it's not great.
That actually is a great idea to use something that forces you to clean up your act, or at least cleans it up for you, I suppose. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I would actually miss the old tabs, but definitely if you're into automatic cleaning, then you have this lovely piece of extra Android intelligence from Ilkka, all the way from Finland, and Ilkka for both being very, let me think, for enjoying the ribbing that Chrome gives you, as well as having a very reasonable alternative and having good personal hygiene, if not good tab hygiene. That is why you are this week's email of the week.
All right. And good tab hygiene, I think, is important. But also, I did find it. It was way back episode 596 when Brant in Hillsborough, New Jersey, asked about dismissing Google Assistant. So going back a couple of weeks, what was it? 9/20, September 20th. So almost a month ago. But thank you, Thomas, for writing in for that. And thank you, Ika, for your email of the week. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. What a wonderful week we've had coming off of the Pixel event. Tashaka, where can people find you on the internet? Tell everybody where they continue on the Tashaka goodness after watching. They're listening to this show.
Well, since I have such a common name, it really gets lost. But you can find me on every platform as Tashaka Armstrong, Tshaka Armstrong, spelled like it sounds. If you have a hard time pronouncing the first name, just think of T'Challa from Black Panther. That is exactly how you pronounce my name, or his father, which is closer to Chaka. But I am Tashaka Armstrong everywhere.
All right. Excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We look forward to hearing your thoughts about the Pixel 7 after the embargo lifts, and then eventually the Pixel Watch. And we'll have you come on in a couple of weeks again, and we'll talk watch apps and stuff like that. So
I'm giddy for that. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Wynn, where can people find you? What else are you doing online?
Well, they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at QueenCodeMonkey, and they can find most of my technical content at my website, randomlytyping.com. And I just have to say, to add on, Tashaka has like the best display name on Twitter. It is Villain McBeardface. So if you just need to follow him for that, I mean, that's amazing. And Tashaka, I look forward to seeing your lemongrass banded Pixel Watch, because I believe you noted that the lemongrass color, lemongrass is just, and I cannot. Well, I pre-ordered the lemongrass band, even though I'm not sure if I'm going to like the watch. I had to get that lemongrass band. It's just so good. It's just so good.
Yes. Chef kiss.
Chef kiss. And now I'm dead. Yeah.
Cool. I was tempted for the lemongrass, but I went with black because I'm boring. But no, I went with the gray one. Or maybe that's why my shipment is delayed. All right, You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RonXO, or if you're into pinball, go check out Scorebit in the Google Play Store. Download it for your Android app. Keep track of your pinball scores. It's tons of fun. Check out our friend JR Raphael at Android Intelligence. He's all awesome, full of great information and tips. Love it. Thanks to Victor and Burke for keeping things running behind the scenes, even if Burke was a little shaky tonight. Oh, it's so much fun. And if you like this and more, no doubt you are probably a fan of everything we do here at Twit. So you should sign up for Club Twit. That's our ad-free subscription tier. You get all our shows with no ads and also an exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed with tons of extra content. And you get access to the members-only Discord where the real party happens. And you get all this and more for $7 per month, or you can pay for a full year at $84 per year. It's a great offer. Definitely want to get on it if you love all the shows that Twit puts out. You go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Sign up today. Become one of the legion of fans of Twit to get inside on board with Club Twit. And of course, help Jason as we get close to the end of the year, wrap it up by sending your favorite moments from the show for our best ofs. You can go to twit.tv/best of, and that will help Jason and the rest of the team put together the epic last episode of the year with all of our best of moments. I can't wait to watch it. It's always fun to do. So yeah, definitely want to do that.
Shout out one of your Twitch show hosts real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
Ant Pruitt.
He's the best.
Subscribe to Twit, because Ant personally has taught me how to light my stuff. When my first client videos I did doing YouTube reviews, I can say I absolutely thank Ant and a couple other people who helped, but Ant really taught me a lot about lighting and even just where to buy good lights and so much. And so I'm thankful for him, and I have him to thank for I think some of the stuff that I've shot, my talking heads that are lit really well and look really nice, because he took the time to just chat with me and talk to me about how to make it happen. So, Ant, at Hands
Good shout out. Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Plus 1,000.
All right. Cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. This podcast publishes every Tuesday evening. You can come watch it live at twit.tv/live at approximately 5:30 Pacific time. It's always a good time, and participate in the chat or in the Discord or whatnot. And of course, you can subscribe at twit.tv/AAA. As mentioned earlier, you can get in on the action and email us at aa@twit.tv, or give us a voicemail at 347-SHOW-AAA. And that's going to wrap it up. We'll see you next time on All About Android. So long.
Bye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands On Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.